Hey guys, my name is Chloe and I'm a private pilot, and today I want to talk about some of the worst advice that I hear given to private pilot students, and that was actually given to me when I was earning my private pilot license that made one of my flights very, very sour. And before I start this video, I would like to thank all of the new subscribers. I see all of you. I'm really excited that you're here, and definitely stay tuned because there's more to come on this channel. So, what is this advice? I'm doing air quotes every time I say the word advice in this context, by the way, because it's just mental poison. This advice is to forget filling out a navlog. Just let Foreflight flight plan for you. Guys, at the student private pilot level, that is absolute garbage poison. You need to know how to fill out a navlog. You need to know why you're entering all the data into all those columns. You need to go through all the hours and the boredom and the tedium of filling out that navlog so that all of the knowledge that you learn in the course actually becomes reality for you and you become a competent, safe pilot. If you let Foreflight do it, you will never really understand how things like density altitude will affect your airplane's performance on a given day, because it'll all just be theory and you'll kind of feel it. Yeah, you will. You'll feel, the difference in climb on a 100-degree day versus a 70-degree day. Absolutely. But you're not going to really understand it the same way if you don't go through the boring and tedious process of filling out a navlog by hand with that E6B, the plotter, the sectional, calling up 1-800-WX-BRIEF, or actually forget calling it up. You have to get a standard briefing on 1-800-WXBRIEF.com and doing all that stuff. You have to do it. You have to do it. And this advice, quote unquote advice, was given to me at a really, really vulnerable time, a particularly vulnerable time in my training. And it made my second student cross-country solo very, very sour. I'm going to tell you about that so you guys can hopefully learn from my experience and not ever, if you're getting your private pilot license now, not ever fall for this Foreflight thing. By the way, when I say Foreflight thing, I love Foreflight. I use the flight planning feature now, but as a private pilot student, you need to do all the stuff. So this is what happened. So I had done my first student cross-country solo to Brunswick. I actually videotaped that entire flight and I posted it on this channel. I edited it and posted it on this channel. It's a really cool video. And I work at the airport as well. So I was telling anybody who would listen all about my first cross-country solo and how awesome it was. And I was so excited. And of course, I'm talking to a lot of pilots because I work at an airport. And one of the pilots, who said that he was a retired airline pilot, although I don't know if that's true. I have I don't know. I have a feeling that might not be true. But anyways, he said to me, he said for my next flight, which was quote unquote just to Gainesville, 51 miles there, 51 miles back. I say just because, in quotes as well, because every flight is very important. There's no just one little flight, right? So anyways, he said, use Foreflight's flight planning feature instead of filling out a navlog. It'll just generate it for you in just a couple of seconds. And then you can call it a day with the navlog. And even as I reiterate this, as I remember this moment when he said this to me, it's like the snake in the Garden of Eden. It was just such poison. And I let it get to me. Flight planning is boring. And it appealed to the part of my brain that's kind of lazy. I have a strong work ethic, but there is a part of me that can be prone to laziness, and I let it get to me. And I didn't completely 100%, not look anything up. Like I at least looked up that there was no air mets that day, and that there were, I looked up the NOTAMs. But pretty much, by and large, I did what this person advised me to do. And where I felt it, oh, of course, by the way, I filled out a navlog by hand that I gave to my instructor, which I just basically copied off of Foreflight. And so he was like, okay, she did her flight planning, basically tricking my instructor in a certain way. Where I felt the effect of this was when I climbed out of St. Augustine. I was about 700 feet. Forget it. I wasn't even 700 feet. I had just rotated when I felt the effects of not planning, because at that level, I had been meticulous with all of my student solos up until that day. I had soloed a lot before I went to Brunswick, by the way. I was going around the county a lot and just flying, and I really took advantage of that 90-day endorsement. I had soloed a lot, and I was always very meticulous, and I planned everything. This was the first time I didn't really. And as soon as I rotated and I'm climbing out of there, I'm feeling it. I'm going, oh my God, I'm not prepared. I don't really know anything. I kind of sort of a little bit know what the winds are, but that's pretty much it. And my heart started racing, because I could feel, like, usually I felt like, oh, I got this, I got me. This time I did not feel that way at all. And my first thought was to go call the tower and go back and land, and that's it. And then I had this vision of myself doing that with the flight bag, walking back into school, and people looking at me and asking me what happened, and me just to say I wasn't prepared. And how embarrassing would that be, right? So I said no. I said to myself, you are going to Gainesville. I know you can do this. I know that you can straighten up and fly right. And we're going to straighten up right now. And, get that checklist out. And, we're going to do a climb checklist and get ready to call Jack's approach. And I had to have this whole other part of me come out and get really nasty and really strong and really, tough with myself, to make sure that I would go out southwest and go to Gainesville, and that's it, But it was not fun. I was making a lot of mistakes on the comms, Jack's approach, Gainesville Tower. They must have been sitting there like, what the, who let this girl solo today, because I was saying all kinds of stupid shit. And it was really embarrassing, actually. I think Gainesville Tower was like, do you want to just relax on the ramp for a little while, ma'am? Because I think you need a moment. But I was like, no, I just want to go back to St. Augustine. Because after I landed, I just was like, oh my God. I felt a little bit better after I landed over there, because I'm like, all right, I did that. And now I just, that fortified me a bit to feel more confident to go back. But it was really bad. And when I went back, I felt a little bit better. I kind of got wheels in the bus go round and round mentality for a few minutes. The flight to and from Gainesville, from St. Augustine, Gainesville, and Gainesville, St. Augustine is quick, so there's not a lot of time when you're in cruise anyway. Which, by the way, is another reason that flight was very challenging for me at that level, because I didn't even have much time to be in cruise either way before I'm starting to descend again, and not really quite knowing where my top of climb was or where my top of descent should be, because I didn't really look too deeply into it. Really, really bad. Really bad. I was so happy when I got back to St. Augustine, and I was telling my instructor, I could really level with him. He's a really good person. And I always felt like I could be 100% honest with him. Obviously, not this time, but in hindsight, I said to him, I was like, I this is what I did. And I confessed, I'm like, I used Foreflight and I felt really anxious up there. And he was like, yeah, you really need to do everything by hand at this stage of the game. And he said, don't use that until you're you feel really, really comfortable as a pilot that, that you're okay with using Foreflight like that. And, you guys, if you're at the private pilot level and you are still learning about cross countries, do yourself a favor, sit down with a cup of coffee and, that music, and give yourself hours and give yourself the time and the space to just get into that navlog. It is so important. Even if you get things wrong, at least you feel familiar with the day. Definitely do that. Don't even touch Foreflight's flight planning feature until after you've done your like if you want to use it, like do it after you've done your navlog, just to like cross-reference a little bit. But I would trust you and your navlog over Foreflight any day, because you have your POH, right? Foreflight has like a version of your POH. You need to go with what is most accurate, and that's your stuff. And, I think as you advance, after you get your license and stuff like that, you can see those little differences. You're like, oh, that Foreflight is saying this because, they don't really know the POH very well. And then you could kind of make those adjustments from there. But at the level of private pilot student, get that navlog out and, give yourself the time that you need. It's really important. It's really worth it, and it'll make you a much better pilot. All right, guys, I will talk to you later.